So today, let us talk about how to start a bookkeeping business, even if you have very little experience. So this is what I would do if I had to restart over from scratch with zero experience. So I had to get situated in a blanket. Cool. So background. So who am I and why could this video be helpful for you if you watch the entire thing? So number one, I currently run a six-figure accounting and bookkeeping firm, which I started in 2015. Also, we've helped hundreds of people start and grow their businesses in our mentorship program. Now, I usually will say like, the specific number, but sometimes people will watch like my video and like literally be like, oh, so you've helped this many students. Like, well, no, the number has grown since the last time you watched the video because that video is like 6 months to a years old. So I'm just gonna say hundreds of people yeah, inside of the mentorship program. So it's going to attack things. So lessons from successful, like just success, right? So there are a couple different things that stop a lot of people from really being successful, both in their business and just in life in general. So confidence and internal belief sets. So the beliefs that we hold about ourselves, about business, about life are generally going to stop either cause us to have success or cause us not to have success. And it's very, very innocuous how it kind of happens, right? Because it can be as little as maybe you don't believe that someone is willing to work with you or to invest with you. So you don't even ask them if they would. Or maybe someone tells you no, and like you have an internal belief that once someone tells you no, no means no, right? Because maybe that came from childhood. I don't know exactly what it is going to be for you, right? So as soon as someone says no, you just don't respond. Or maybe that, you tried something in the past and when something doesn't work, it's like the first lesson is, well, maybe it was just not meant to be. So when you're trying to start your business, as soon as something doesn't work, it's like, oh, why would I, keep pushing? I know that like when something doesn't work out the first time, it doesn't work for me, in general. Right. So all these different internal beliefs are going to cause us to really slow down and put brakes on ourselves and on our trajectory that can really prevent us from being able to go and be like successful, right? Next thing, some other lessons that we're going to cover inside this video is the value of selling high ticket clients over low ticket clients. We'll talk a bit more about that throughout the video. And also the importance of having multiple marketing channels. So you always want to have at least two marketing channels, ideally maybe three channels, right? I never want to just be stuck on one, unless the one can be like split and diversified across like multiple ways. We'll talk about that further as we're inside this video. Excuse me. So, in terms of marketing channels, right? So the first thing we'll talk about is sweat equity channels. So these are channels like LinkedIn, Instagram, and that's like if you're using them without tools. So we call that natively. That's if you're like inside of the LinkedIn Sales Navigator or inside of whatever, like the Facebook profile itself, right? So in a lot of cases, you got to be able to start learning from the ground up. So a lot of people, like, especially if they're like more experienced with like, maybe they're like a director of finance or CFO, they think that when they start their business, they can just like skip all the entry level, like basic foundational knowledge. And what that leads to is that leads to them really struggling with the business. Like you might hear me say this a lot. Like oftentimes it's harder for someone that's making like 150 to 200K a year to really start a business and make it work than it is for someone who's making like 60 to like 100K. The reason why is just like how like you see the world, like because it makes total sense, right? Let's say you're making 200K a year in your job. You've probably like put in the groundwork in your job, and like now that you're here, and like now that you're making really good money, you're like, I'm kind of at a certain level. But when you start something new, you're not necessarily starting at the ground floor in terms of your experience, but in terms of marketing and how the market actually knows you, you're definitely starting over. So learning how to use these sweat equity channels, even just for like 2 weeks at a time, like for a lot of our students, they're already super, super well off. I don't really have them do sweat equity channels for that long, but you need to understand the basics of messaging, marketing, talking to people, building out your profiles, communicating to people who maybe aren't as sophisticated in business as you are, right? So another reason why it's important too, like that sophistication. Oftentimes, like the more sophisticated someone is in accounting and bookkeeping, or even just CFO services, the harder it is for them to communicate with an average business owner, especially when it's doing like 300K a year, 500K a year, a million, $2 million a year, right? And when you speak to them, there's a huge disconnect, and it causes you not to be able to go and get those clients, and you're going to struggle for a lot longer. So by using these sweat equity channels in the beginning, it's going to cause you to be able to really understand like what is needed to go find success. A good example of this was a good example of this is like my student Sharon. So like she struggled to talk to business owners, right? Because it was always like they would always ask her so why is this important? She says, well, it's important because it's accounting. And she couldn't break down like 2 to 3 levels deeper as to why was what she was saying was important for them to know, right? Because a lot of times, like business owners would just be like, "Well, I just care at the end of the year I have more money in my account than when I started." It's like, well, there's a lot more to that just than to a business and accounting than just that. But if you don't understand how to like make them understand that or break it down to their level, they're never going to work with you. They're never going to trust you, and they're going to think you don't know what you're doing. Next step up from that is going to be semi-automated channels. So this can be stuff like messenger processes, virtual assistant support, et cetera, et cetera. So this is when you start really getting a little bit more freedom from your marketing. Calls just kind of show up on your calendar. So in terms of this, like you can use tools like like Linked Helper or DuckSoup. Those basically allow you to use LinkedIn more in an automated fashion, right? So it's not fully automated. Basically, what it does is allows you to be able to go and like build connections with people and utilize the platform. From there, you have to go and actually look at who has responded to your different messages and different things that have been sent by the automation tool to evaluate whether or not you want to continue the conversation with them. Like sometimes like, your automation tool might get a person like, or maybe that person's attitude is just different than what you like working with. So you don't really want to fully automate it. You want to have it at least semi-automatic or at least have it be to the point to where your input allows you to stay on course so it doesn't kind of veer off to the wrong course. Next thing, so just continuing the marketing channels, right? So I like consistent lead generation platforms. So depending on where you're starting out, there's different ones. So a good example like this consistent lead finder would be more of like database marketing, right? So when I say database marketing, that could be something like a pro advisor. That could be something like we'll say LinkedIn Pro Finder. You can use Upwork, but Upwork is very tricky. On Upwork, the high quality clients generally come to you. It's not from you sending a million job proposals out. So I really don't like these lead gen platforms as much because the fact that they are very passive. Now, there will come a time in your career where having passive lead generation tools are very helpful, but if you're just starting out, it's not going to do what you need to do in the speed with which you want. So how I think of like lead generation platforms is that they are consistent over a 12-month period, but they might give you leads every 6 months. So the total dollar amount you might get for them per year can be consistent. But if you need a client in 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, it's very, very hard to make them do something because you're kind of at the mercy of the visibility and the activity that is generated from those channels, right? So they do have their place. And like I'm not saying they don't. Like for example, my this YouTube channel for me would be considered a passive lead generation platform. Now, if I was starting up my business, I would not want to do that first because that's going to take you a little bit of time to go get your first client. Like, and plus, oftentimes on these platforms, you don't even know if you're doing it right in the beginning, right? So it's like, and that's why I always advise like going and working like a mentorship kind of program or something like that. And we have our own mentorship program. So like if you want help with any of the stuff we've been talking about inside the video, just click the link, book a call, let's see if we can help you out. But yeah, you want to first get actively good. That's why we talk about sweat equity and then semi-automated channels first, right? Because those are things you can actually control, right? You can linearly control. I do this much activity, I get this much result. So you can manipulate your activity, manipulate your effort to be able to go and create that just consistent traffic. Then once you don't have any time because you have enough clients where you're like doing most of your time spent on client work rather than just marketing and sales, these other lead generation platforms, since they are consistently giving you clients over the 6, 12, 18-month period, they're going to send you the remaining clients you need to get to that 10, 12, 15K per month mark without you feeling like you have to actively market. The next thing, right, another step up from that is going to be scalable channels. So that's paid advertising, email marketing. Now, email marketing that can be a very simple activity or it can be a very complex activity. And the difference is going to be who you are targeting, right? If you're targeting like referral partners, it's very easy. If you're targeting potential like business clients, like I call them direct clients, like you're directly going to the client versus getting a partnership. If you're going directly to the client, email marketing can be very, very challenging. Number one, because there's a lot of rules around emailing. Number two, to understand like how to actually send volume. Number three, to be able to get enough email addresses for you to be able to send them out. Number four, you have to have a good email marketing system. Number five, you have to have a good message. So once you understand like who you're saying to, what you're saying, then now you have to be able to put it out in a very concise email to a stranger that gets them to want to pay you $500 to $5,000 a month with only meeting you one time. That's very, very high level. If you can do that, amazing. If you can't do that, well, that's regular. Welcome to how most other people feel, right? So that's the key thing there. Now, with both of these, right, the last one talked about the consistent lead generation platforms as well as the scalable channels, you have to be able to optimize everything for higher value clients. So if you didn't build that foundation, which is why, remember earlier I said like for CFOs and director of finances, they think they can just come and skip that groundwork. It's not that you can't skip the groundwork, it's just you're going to be so out of touch with people that you're not going to be able to really talk to the right clients that can pay you the amount of money that you're used to. We're going to be talking to someone who's way bigger. Like if you're used to working for $100 million company or $1 billion company, you generally speak in the terms and phrases and thought process of $100 million to $1 billion company. But when you're talking to companies like a million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, that's a totally different just conversation. And I understand business is business, but the owners are very, very, very different, right? It's just totally different until you get inside of there. Now, paid ads. I love paid ads when you have good systems in place. We know exactly how much money on average you're going to make from your clients. We know exactly how long it takes for someone to see you to actually buy from you. And when you understand how to create diversification within an ad platform. Now, I'm not going to go super deep inside of that today, like diversification within an ad platform. Um, I think I'm writing down some notes like for my next video, and I think that's gonna be like something that we talk about. Now, if you're not at least 7K per month in your business, when I say 7K per month, like you could get some cleanups and like hit 7K one time, but I'm thinking if you make at least 7K per month in your business, at least 3 months in a row, then we consider that's gonna be like a 7K kind of thing. So you're on track for what is that, 84,000 dollars in the year, right? So then you can start putting money into ads. Now it's not about not having money for an ad budget. You can have $1 million for an ad budget, but if you don't understand the basics, which is derived from going inside that sweat equity, the semi-automated platforms, and then actually be able to use like the other ones, like the consistent lead gen platforms, like if you can't do that, ads are not going to work for you. Then you're going to think ads suck. You're going to be like, they don't work, and you're never going to run money for ads again. That's just what I've seen. It doesn't have to be true for you. Like you don't have to run ads one time, lose money, hate it. But I just see most people that they can like. Most people only have like 2 to 3 tries in them of anything that doesn't work. They'll try something like once, okay, maybe it's just a fluke. They'll try it twice, like 50% of people won't even try it twice. It's just something happened bad to me one time, never gonna do it again, right? Which makes sense. I mean, like if you burn your hand on the stove when you're younger, you probably know not to burn your hand again, like right? You're just not gonna do it, right? But in business, it's a little bit different, right? Because you can do something the exact same way. You can do it wrong and get a certain result. You can do it right and get no results. You can do it right and get a million results, right? So it's like you're as long as you're learning, as long as you're trying and you're like taking very calculated risks, then it's worth it for you to keep moving forward and keep trying stuff. That's the big thing that no one really understands, right? So like with paid ads, for example, like once you know how to do it, like you can go and get like for every dollar that you spend in advertisement, you can get 4, 5, $12 back for every dollar. Okay. But that's when you start really understanding like scale when it comes to business. That's when you really understand control inside of a business. And that's one reason why I can always like some people are like are in both of our business. So if it'd be one thing if it was like only one business, but in both our businesses, people are always surprised when I can predict exactly how much money we're going to be making the next year, right? Because I can really go and say, okay, I'm going to spend this percentage is going to come from my like sweat equity channels. This percentage is going to come from my consistent lead gen platforms. Then I'm going to make up the difference with my advertising. So I know if it's going to cost me, let's say it costs me $1, you get $4 back. If I want to go and make like $100,000 extra in a year, I'd have to go spend $25,000, right? If I'm getting $1 in, $4 out. So that's when you start getting a little bit more of that like ability to really control your growth. But for a lot of people, you don't even need to control your growth. You don't even need to grow that far. Most people, if you can get to like 10,000 or $15,000 a month, you're good, right? If you have ambitions to go to like 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, this is the way that you'll be able to do that. Awesome. Next thing is gonna be choosing the right clients. So revenue ranges and how they impact client quality. So in a lot of cases, um, most people are going to be paying a certain amount of their revenue to you. So there's a difference between ability to pay, so that's like they can pay, like they physically have the money in the bank account or they don't, or their willingness to pay. They could have 100% of the money they could pay you for 10 years. So let's say that you're charging like $500 a month. Like that's the minimum price we encourage people to charge, right? $500 a month times 12 months is $6,000 per year. They could have $60,000 and could pay you all up front and be like, "Oh, I'm not willing to pay you that." Right? So there's a difference between the two. Generally, we've seen that like the less money someone has, the less like willing they are to part with that money, right? Which is why I don't like going after like solopreneurs or people who are below a certain amount of revenue. Um, and generally, what you're going to see is like revenue is going to follow the level of sophistication as well. So you're generally going to deal with a much more sophisticated business owner when you're talking to someone who's like, we'll say $3 to $5 million versus someone's at like 300K to 500K. Not always. There are exceptions if it's a professional services business. For example, a lot of CPA firms or their solo CPA firms will be doing like 250 to 400K a year. Now, they are working with a lot of different businesses. They develop sophistication very quickly, but in general, for average business owners that don't have that specialized skill set, it's going to follow revenue. So, like for example, a $500,000 per year construction company is going to have an owner that's slightly less sophisticated in terms of accounting, just business growth and running a business, as a construction business owner that's doing like $10 million a year. There's just going to be a difference. Now, benefits of working with small businesses. Now, when we say small business in this particular case, I'm not just talking about like the category of small businesses. I'm talking about just like businesses below 100,000 revenue. Um, to be quite honest with you, there's not a lot of benefits that are like financial benefits. The only difference is that if you can get one of them is 100K per year, but you can see their trajectory is that they should actually be like a 500,000 a year business or $1 million per year business for the next like 1 to 2 years. So you can get at the ground floor and you can really like start them up like from the way you like to do it and just like build everything out from like scratch. So that's one benefit of working with them. Also, you can have them like see you more as like a business kind of advisor. So listen to more of what you say and really implement the business like the way that you're telling them to do. So that's really the benefit. I don't like that from a financial standpoint because like it's very hard for a business owner that's doing 100,000 a year to pay you like a good amount of money. Because I mean, like think about it, like if a business owner's doing like 100K a year, right? Most business owners are going to do like between like a 10 to 30% profit margin. Let's say in this case 20%. And that's industry by industry. A lot of construction companies, they only operate off a 5% like net margin, right? So I'm not going to go to 5%. We'll just do 20%. So okay, so they do 100K. So at the end of the day, they are doing 20K before taxes, right? So their taxes, generally it's not going to be a huge, that's going to be like the lowest tax bracket. It's okay. So already in the lowest tax bracket. Let's say that, let's even take taxes out. Let's say that they don't have to pay taxes for whatever reason, right? I'm not saying that's realistic. I'm just saying hypothetically. So they have $20,000 that they basically have to go and pay their bills with. And then they have to go and think about like working with you for your $500 per month service. So they have 20,000, you're asked for six. That's about 34, 35, sorry, 30, 31 to 32% of the revenue. Or sorry, 32% of the profit. I'm sorry. Brain's all over the place here. That's very hard for them to swing. If they're talking about 32%, that's very hard for them to swing. Like just mentally. Like they could do it, yes, but like they're what gonna have like what is that like eight they're gonna have like 12 to 13 thousand dollars to pay their life bills. Like it's not gonna work. They're not gonna work. So you have to get someone that has more skin on the bone. Now, next thing, how to handle a consultation call when a client can't afford you right away. So this is very mixed. So in a lot of cases, if someone can't afford your services, it's you can do two things. You can have a step down option for them. So maybe you do some QuickBooks training for them. Maybe you have a course to teach people how to do QuickBooks. Maybe you can do something very small for them. Maybe you can pipeline them. Basically, what that means, like, hey, we can keep talking, and as you need some advice, I'll hop on a call with you, maybe like once a month or once a quarter. You pay me like $150 for that consultation call, and we can make sure everything like set up the correct way. Then as they're growing, you're talking to them, so you're the only person they're talking to because you're the only person that they can afford, and then they'll give you more and more, and then as they get bigger and bigger, they will work with you on that more like one-to-one kind of direct basis. That's how you can really handle those. Um, it depends. Like, I don't know. I don't like I as you get more and more established in business, your perception on the time that you want to spend for not a lot of money really changes. Right. So like when you're first starting, it's like, okay, I don't mind working with someone for free. I don't mind doing this. It's like, that's cool and all, but like after a while, just like number one, people who don't pay you don't really get great results, number one. And then number two, it's like, um, why would you go with this when you have someone that's willing to pay you like a million times more? Right? And I don't know. Some people are like, it's not always about the money. It's like, okay, cool. Well, that works for you. But like when your time is like filled with people that aren't paying you, now you let's say that you were gonna do like let's say you're charging someone like your fees break down to like $50 per hour. Okay, cool. So then you're gonna do your $50 per hour, but then you're gonna look back and you're gonna like water down like the amount of time you spent with like the free is gonna actually water down whatever your hourly rate was. So now you're actually only working for like $25 per hour. And that's not counting scope creep. So your existing clients that are paying you money, they're gonna want more, and people who aren't paying you money are gonna want more. And pretty soon you're working for like 18, maybe like $15 per hour. So on paper, it looks like you're doing $50 per hour for the people that are paying you, but in reality, you're only making like $18 per hour. And it's like it's just not quite enough. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of do that. I would do that stuff either when money doesn't really matter to you, or if you have a team, you have like so much free time in like your life and in your business. That's when I would really think about that. Until then, I don't know if that really makes sense for 90% of people to do. Cool. Next thing, some tools. We already talked about some tools earlier, so I'm not going to go super deep into tools. I kind of talked about it more than I expected. Next thing is going to be handling price objections. So we're going to talk a little more about that. We have a number of different sales videos on this channel, so I'm not going to go super deep into like these sales tools and stuff like that. It's just not really not going to be a great use of our time in this call today. So number one, overcoming price objections. So a lot of this is going to be you're not really going to get price objections if you target the right people. So there's going to be a mixture of between marketing versus sales. The better you get at marketing, the less you have to do on your sales consultation calls. The worse you are at marketing, the more you do on your sales consultation calls, right? Because you have to do like objection handling, help them like overcome their fears, help them overcome like procrastination, help them see the value of stuff. Versus if you just have like trust from the beginning and they already see you as an authority kind of figure, it's so much easier for you to be able to like handle. You don't even have to do objection. I don't do objection handling these days. Um, I don't do objection handling in the traditional sense. I'm not a person where it's like a person like, oh, I don't want to pay this or I can't afford to pay this. Then like we spend like the next like 20 minutes like objection handling, right? I don't really do that because it's just not needed anymore, right? So instead, I do pre-handling of objections. I do two types of pre-handling of objections. I give homework before a call. So if someone doesn't do the homework, it's a very high likelihood I'm just going to disqualify them. Just won't be like, yeah, you can't do the homework. I don't know if I want to, put any more time talking to you. Some people might say it's mean, but again, you start developing these different heuristics in your mind as you get more and more successful, and as you need to like kind of conserve your time because there's just so much more demands on your time. Um, so the homework, and then second thing is going to be like how you handle your marketing and your sales script itself. So within the sales script, you can ask the right questions to get the right answers to start seeing how they believe about that, and you can understand like do you have to objection handle, or is the person that does not need objection handling, they just want to do what they know what they want to do. If they came on the call and they've like seen the marketing, they want to really move forward and do something with that. Right, that makes things so much easier for you, both short term and long term, because you can save time on the phone. Next thing, nurturing leads. So we just kind of talked about nurturing leads a little bit. Inside our program, we will cover more about email marketing campaigns. So there's different types of email marketing campaigns. There's some that you send to strangers. There's some that you send to people who are lukewarm, like they've talked to you, maybe in Messenger, but they haven't bought from you. There's also people where like maybe you've done a consultation call and you're following up with them. So we give you different scripts and like different strategies to do so within our program, just to make it easier, right, for you to be able to like do this like on a consistent basis. After that, just work on onboarding some new clients. So in the beginning, it's not going to be super, super efficient, your onboarding process. That's okay. Like a lot of people, like they want to have everything prepared before they get started. Like that kind of makes sense from like a perspective of like someone who's new, but it's like it's not the most important thing. The only thing that really matters in the beginning is like getting your first set of clients. So getting to 3 grand a month, that is the biggest goal you're gonna have when it comes to starting your business. That's just the biggest goal, bar none. After that, you start becoming more and more official. Now, the reason why I say it's not because I don't think it's okay to be official. I just know a lot of people will put up these like walls. It kind of goes back to that confidence, that mindset thing we talked about earlier. They put up walls that stop them from doing the things they need to do to move forward in their business. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to go and do the right activities so that you can go and get to success as fast as possible. That's the big thing for me. That's the big thing for me. Awesome. And inside of our program, like as you get more and more clients, we do work with you to help you figure out your onboarding process so that you can be able to do the right things and get them onboarded a lot more effectively. Also, if you want some help with any of the stuff we talked about inside the video, I invite you to go ahead and click the link inside the description, either above or below the video, to book a call with myself to see if I can help you inside of our mentorship program. Okay? I want to see if I can help you. I want to see what we can do for you. If it makes sense, we can even work together inside our mentorship program. Okay? I will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Take it easy.